a little concerned when we were notified by the USPS that collection box, one of the blue United States mailboxes, was stolen from Southeast Woodstock and Southeast Reed College Place.
There you go. One day before the Oregon primary election, Multnomah County Elections office is notifying the public of potential stolen ballots. They say a Postal Service mailbox with ballots inside was stolen in Southeast Portland earlier this month. And today we're learning why it took so long for election officials to notify you. Good evening. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Steve Dunn.
And I'm Deborah Knapp. The Multnomah County Elections office is asking anybody who used the mailbox on Southeast Reed College Place and Southeast Woodstock Boulevard on May 4th to make sure you ask for a replacement ballot.
That intersection is where we find Katu's Francis Lynn tonight with more on the story. What can you tell us now, Francis?
So there was a blue USPS mailbox right here, and if you live around this area and you put your ballot into that mailbox on May 4th, after 11:35 a.m., that's when mail was last picked up, then your ballot could have been stolen, and election officials are asking you to please contact them and get a replacement ballot as soon as possible before Election Day tomorrow.
I came a half hour ago to drop my ballot in the box and it wasn't there.
Neighbors were shocked to find out the mailbox was stolen.
If it was stolen and it was filled with ballots, then I think there is an issue.
The Multnomah County Elections office says 2 people have reached out so far, saying they used that box to mail in their ballots on May 4th and haven't gotten a received notification on their Track Your Ballot service, the same service that helped county officials realize something was wrong.
They subscribe to our ballot tracking notification service, and so they're used to getting that text message or email right away after their ballot's returned. So when they didn't receive it, they got concerned, reached out to us.
Elections Director Tim Scott says anyone who was affected by this theft can get a replacement ballot.
We want to make sure that, you know, in the very small chance that there were more ballots in that box, that those people get an opportunity to get a replacement.
As for other election security measures, what efforts are being made to make sure the election is secure?
Well, there's all sorts of processes. Vote by mail is very secure in and of itself. The vote by mail envelope contains security measures such as a unique barcode on every envelope. The voter's signature on every envelope is compared against the voter's signature from voter registration.
I live a block that way, so this is my go-to mailbox.
And neighbors hope the mailbox gets replaced soon, and also hopes people don't get discouraged to vote.
The idea that we have any responsibility for our society, then we have to actually exercise our civic duty and do that one simple fundamental thing and cast a vote.
And the city of Portland is now dealing with the possibility of stolen ballots. Multnomah County is warning voters about the potential impact this morning. K2's Dan McCarthy is live in North Portland with that and what all voters need to know today. Dan, so an entire mailbox was stolen in the city?
Yeah, exactly, Angelica. So not a ballot box or a drop-off site like this that was impacted, but a mailbox. Either way, Multnomah County officials are concerned about those who may have used that mailbox to submit their ballot, and they're wanting to hear from those who may have used it. So we have some important information on your screen right now, breaking down what you need to know. This theft happened on May 4th, but they're just notifying voters about it now. It was a blue USPS collection box at Southeast Reed College Place in Woodstock Boulevard. Anyone who may have used that mailbox to send their ballot on May 4th after 11:35 a.m., they're asked to call this number, 503-988-VOTE, that's 8683, to check the status of their ballot. So far, 2 people have notified the election office saying that they may have been impacted. Now, if that is the case for you as well, you will get a replacement ballot. Now, you may be wondering why it took so long. Obviously, this theft happened on May 4th. We're just hearing about it yesterday. Well, the Multnomah County Elections office is blaming USPS for that, saying they were just notified about that theft on Monday. We did reach out to USPS for comment. At this point, Angelica, we have not heard back.
Yeah, hopefully voters can think back and remember which day maybe they dropped those ballots in that mailbox. Hard to keep track sometimes. Dan, some big races happening today and tonight. We've been tracking low voter turnout this year. Do we know if that has improved in the last 24 hours?
Not by the looks of it at this point, Angelica. Taking a closer look at some of the numbers we've gotten so far from the Secretary of State website, we know that roughly 18.1% of Oregon voters have turned their ballots in. Meanwhile, here in Multnomah County, that number is up to 18.4%. Now, you have until 8 o'clock tonight to submit your ballot. You can do that in a lot of locations. We have the full list up on the Secretary of State website, but obviously places like libraries, you can have a book return, use it to drop it off there.
Every candidate campaigns on what they're going to fix if elected, but Republican Stan Pulliam,
from roses to riots,
Christine Drazen, and Bob Tiernan are specifically calling out Portland in their fight for the Oregon governorship.
Politicians in Salem and Portland are ignoring the crime, the looting, and rioting. But I won't.
They all mention the problem specifically in Portland. Why is that?
Well, because Portland is such a mess. So yeah, it's in all my ads, and it should be in all my ads.
In these times that you mention Portland, do you think that helps you possibly win the governorship?
well, absolutely. I think people are looking for solutions in the city of Portland.
But what is in the governor's power to fix Portland's problems? Can they really do what city leaders have failed or refused to do?
The governor has a lot of power. They have a box of tools. They have executive powers. They have emergency powers. They have emergency declaration powers. They have executive orders.
But when it comes to crime in Portland, Mayor Ted Wheeler, who oversees the Portland Police Bureau, doesn't think the governor holds much weight.
The governor does not control the police bureau in any municipal government in the state of Oregon. And so if you actually have somebody who thinks they're qualified for governor thinking that they can enforce the laws in the local community using our local police bureau, forget about it.
What's your response to Wheeler's comments?
Yeah, is that Ted Wheeler himself is not in control of his own police department or his city.
The governor has complete control over the state police. I'll spell that for the mayor if he wants to hear it. State is S-T-A-T-E and police is P-O-L-I-C-E. The governor also has this thing called the National Guard. Now, that's a little longer word. I can spell that one too.
And additionally, we'll look to deputize a small portion of the state police as U.S. Marshals. That way, when they make an arrest, those folks go to federal court, to the federal judiciary, outside the local Multnomah County DA's jurisdiction, which is struggling so heavily, to really prosecute these crimes.
But it's not just coming from Republicans. On Your Voice, Your Vote, independent Betsy Johnson told Steve Dunn,
I will use the governor's office as a bully pulpit, and I would use all the powers available to the governor to try to strengthen OSP.
We also reached out to Christine Drazen's campaign, but we did not hear back. Wesley Ogle, K2 News.
Well, we checked with the campaigns of other leading Republicans like Bud Pierce, Bridget Barton, Jessica Gomez, Carrie McQuiston, and Mark Thielman, and they weren't involved as much or even at all in the Portland pylon.
We want to bring in K2 political analyst Jim Moore now for more on the governor race. Jim, as always, thanks for being here. We appreciate that.
It's good to be with you.
Republican candidates for Oregon governor making Portland problems central to their pitch. Is this an effective strategy for them, Jim?
Well, it was pretty effective 2 years ago. Remember, then President Donald Trump made cities and the unrest in the cities part of his re-election campaign. Now, he didn't win re-election, but it brought the issue up. It made the issue central to much of what was happening in that election. Now, here we are 2 years later. Is that still the case? We haven't had the protests and the riots in the ways that we were seeing 2 years ago. So that's changed. Right now, when people think about Portland, they're more focused on things like homelessness and things like that. That can be seen as disorder. That might be something the governor might want to think about getting involved with. But how do you use the National Guard or the state police to deal with that? So it's an interesting thing. I think it would have been pretty effective 2 years ago, but now it's up in the air.
Are they trying to court, Jim, Republicans in the metro areas, rural areas, or both with this strategy? What do you think?
I think it's more aimed at people in the metro area. Important that the main candidates that you saw there are all from the Portland area, from Sandy and Lake Oswego, places like that. If you're in the Portland area, you drive to Portland and you see things, or you avoid Portland because you're saying, Portland hasn't put itself together. I'm not sure I want to go down there. It's going to resonate much more with you. When you get further away from Portland, Portland is just yet another big city. It's a place that's far away. It's not as relevant to what's happening in your particular town. So this might not work in a Eugene or a Bend or a Medford. unless there are issues there that are similar, but it will probably work in the Portland metro area, which is where about 35% of all the Republicans in the state live.
Right. Jim, is this something that we'll see in the general election for governor in November as well, or is this a primary strategy?
I think right now it's a primary strategy. Quite frankly, we'll see how it does. You know, if one of these people gets through as the nominee, they'll say, wow, one of the reasons I got through was picking on Portland, and they'll use that in November. If they don't get through, I have a feeling it'll probably kind of die away, unless, of course, we have protests and riots this summer and going into the fall.